Good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayadure. I welcome all of you. We're going to be waiting for people to join. Good evening, everyone out in Instagram world. We're going to have a discussion today on in our series on understanding different ingredients upon joint health. That's what we're going to talk about. But today we're going to talk about a very interesting compound called hyaluronic acid. You may have heard about it, but it's called hyaluronic acid. So we're going to wait for people to join. But that's what we're going to be discussing as you're waiting for people to join. Let me bring up. And for those of you on Instagram, I'm trying a new setup so you can see me like this. And I can turn over here. And you can also see the screen over there. Okay. So hopefully that'll work because I felt bad. Some of you had said, hey, good evening, everyone. I had wanted to also see me up on the screen. So let me go here. And right here, everyone should be able to see the actual thing there. Good. Let me do a test here for people as you're joining in. I'm going to share with you the screen share that we have with our screen over here. We can go right to the application window, and you guys can see also the PowerPoint. Okay, so everyone should be able to see the PowerPoint. People here should be able to see that, and I can go through that and come back. Okay. Okay, and I can go like this. Great. So I assume everyone can see that. Good. Today we're going to be talking about, and we'll wait for people to join, hyaluronic acid. There we go. Okay. All right, everyone on Instagram world, we'll wait for people to join. So welcome, everyone. Having a good number of people join. I hope everyone had a good week. The weekend's coming, and I hope everyone has a good weekend. We have people from Los Angeles, UK, California. We have Anthony Zingale. We have Australia. Good to have you. Good day. What do we have on Instagram? You can tell Michigan. Good evening from Michigan, Quebec, Fiji, Georgia, Peggy from UK. Great to have you, Peggy. Peggy Smith, Manchester, United Kingdom. As I mentioned, Fiji Islands. Weekend, woohoo, yes. All right. What do we have? Virginia, Pennsylvania, Florida. Is that USSA? Or USA, Alberta, Canada, Winsfield, Connecticut. Who else do we have? All right, so we got on Instagram. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Houston, Newport Beach. Great. All right, everyone. I'm glad you're joining. So as many of you know, what we really want to talk about, and I keep pounding away at this, is my goal is to teach all of you in a very deep way, but through examples. So as you know, I'll give examples of a systems, how basically the science of systems. As you know, we've created a platform at VA Shiva, which I'll go through shortly. It's something I want to always repeat to people. Netherlands, Newport Beach, great to have you. We've created a science, a technology, and an educational platform, and a community platform. And that we're building up on our own, bottoms up. We have our own data center here. We have our own infrastructure, the same infrastructure I created for many Fortune 1000 companies. That infrastructure, I've donated it to the cause for Truth, Freedom, and Health. And that infrastructure is really a technology, scientific, educational platform. Number one, to teach you system science, which I believe is really the science of everything. And it's taken me probably 40 years to distill this. And that's really the innovation here. The innovation here is to take this very complex knowledge and to educate each one of you on a systems approach to look at the world. So whenever I do a lot of my videos and discussions, what I do is I'll take a complex problem like the healthcare system or the electronic voting system or political systems. And then I'll also go down to the molecular level to molecular systems, because what I want you to see is across these different spatial scales, whether we're going down at the microscopic level or the much higher dimensions in the physical world here at a larger spatial context, that these same principles apply. So if you take a systems approach, we can actually get to truth, freedom, and health. We can get to particularly going beyond left and right, beyond the dialectic. The establishment wants all of us to be fighting against each other. Most of the spiritual traditions talk about this, that you want to go beyond duality. And beyond duality exists truth. And to get to truth, there is a scientific method, and that's called the systems approach. Okay? And that systems approach is what will teach you there. So as I start, as people are joining in, I'm going to play my video because I think it'll really set the tone, and then we'll jump right in to what we have, and it'll save us a little bit of time. So we're going to wait a couple of minutes as people are joining. So I'm going to share with everyone the standard video we'll play every evening, and but it'll really give you the tone of what the purpose of what we're doing here and why we do what we do here at VA Shiva, and it really gives you sort of the context of all of it. So let me start here. So here we go. We have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite, working people. There's only one movement that can do that, and that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution, and that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training, because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, right? Talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work united. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers. Completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people, Dave, to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You've got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is a not so obvious establishment, which is those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow, some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. And that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done. And it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum. People can go to vashiva.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people. 2 years of MIT control systems, I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it. Anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement.
The Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on V as in Victor A. Shiva, vashiva.com. So people can sign in, they can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there. But we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to VA Shiva, Victory America Shiva, vashiva.com.
All right, everyone, welcome back. So we're going to be talking about hyaluronic acid today, and that was just to impart on people to be emphatic about the fact that we need to build a bottoms-up movement, and system science is a physics that I can teach everyone. It is truly the science of everything. It's taken me, as I mentioned, a long time to get to this, but using a systems approach, which we teach at vashiva.com, you can become a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior. You can support our movement. Is our goal. My goal is to educate each one of you that if you learn this science, which I can teach you in a very short period of time, you don't have to spend forever. You don't have to go to MIT for how many ever years. But with that science, you can understand many systems. But most importantly, you're going to understand principles of existence and life that you can apply to your personal life. You can apply to many, many things. And what I do is I apply that systems approach to understand molecular systems as well as complex systems. So let's jump right in. And today we're going to talk about the joint health system in your body. And as a part of that joint health system, today we're going to look at the system of hyaluronic acid and how it affects your body. So let's jump right into this. So here, many of you can see this. Let me go over here. Just make sure the people on Instagram can follow, because before you guys weren't able to see the things I was seeing here, right? So I think you guys can see this now and there. Okay, great. Okay, so let's talk about hyaluronic acid, all right? What is hyaluronic acid and how does it actually work, all right? What does it actually do? And how can you actually learn and appreciate all the different things it does, all right? So in order to do that, what I've done is we're going to take a systems approach so all of you actually start understanding this. And we have a very detailed agenda that I've done before to help all of you. So let's just jump right in. I got to start this over here. Okay, there we go. Move this over here and here. Okay. All right. So what's our agenda today? So we're going to begin our agenda today to really start looking at a couple of factors here that we want to look at. Okay. We want to start looking at, we want to start looking at a couple of things here. Go back here. All right. You guys there can see it? Okay, good. Everyone can see it now. 1 second. I want to make sure I'm trying to please everyone here. And sometimes when you do that in life, you can't please everyone. But anyway, I think we can get it here. Okay, good. So people on Instagram can see it. Great. Okay, and I can see you guys. Okay, great. So what we're going to start here today with is we're going to give a little bit of background. For those of you who are new, we're going to educate you what is the systems approach and the discoveries I've made. We've already gone over the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement. We're going to cover what is hyaluronic acid, the methodology we use to do the scientific effort here at VA Shiva, what is joint health. Then we're going to jump into really understand the effect of hyaluronic acid on joint health. And then we're going to look at the synergy principle, which is one of the important systems principle where the sum of the parts, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And then we're going to end with looking at dosaging, okay? So a little bit of background. Many of you know that I love to take a systems approach to everything I do, be it running a Senate campaign, be it CytoSolve, and you can go to vashiva.com and check all that out. Email. Yes, I did create email when I was a 14-year-old kid, and there's no controversy about it. Email is actually the system. It's not the simple exchange of text messages. It's a system that I learned, that I built, which is really the interoffice mail system in electronic format. CytoSolve is a system. CytoSolve is a new innovation I did as a part of my PhD, which really allows us to eliminate the need for animal testing, and that allows us to understand molecular systems. So if email was the electronic version of the interoffice paper-based mail system, CytoSolve enables us to mimic the electronic version of the molecular communication system. And that means we don't have to kill animals. We can use the computer to model complex biomolecular function. So let's talk about hyaluronic acid. So when you look at hyaluronic acid, for those, everyone can see this on Instagram. Someone said, Dr. Shiva, everything is reversed. Flip the camera. What do you mean everything's reversed? I'm sorry. When you see everything's reversed, what do you mean? Are you not able to? Oh, I see. That's weird. It's doing a very fascinating thing, and it wasn't doing this on Instagram. Flip the camera. Oh, you mean upside down? Is that what you guys are saying? It's mirrored. Okay. Does anyone know how to unmirror the camera on, because I'm doing the front thing and it's mirroring. Very interesting enough. It's mirroring. Words look like you are in a mirror. Okay. All right. Well, let me just ask our audience here. So are people on Instagram? I'm literally pointing at reverse the view. There's a setting that changes the mirror image. Not sure. I have an iPhone. Okay. It does the same while in the car. Take it. Yeah. Okay. I have it in selfie mode. So using the back camera. Okay. Well, if I use the back camera, guys, I can do that. You guys will not be able to see me. If that's okay, we'll do that. Okay. So let me just flip that for people. 1 second. Let me just do that for everyone. And because I want my insert. So let's go here. Let me just reset this up for everyone here. So, okay. Is that okay for people on Instagram? People happy now? Let's do this. You're not going to be, I was trying to have you guys be also able to see me, but that's okay. I hope that's better, okay? Okay, there you go. Everyone should be able to see everything. Is that good? Okay, good. All right. So that's the way it's going to be for people on Instagram. All right. So if you look at hyaluronic acid, it's quite well researched. Everyone see this? There's really been nearly 40,000 papers written on hyaluronic acid. 40,000 papers. All right, everyone can see this? Good? Okay, good. So there's been 40,000 papers written on hyaluronic acid, 39,944 over the last 82 years of medical research and 1,695 clinical trials. So just think about that. That's a ton. That's, we did MSM, as many of you know, a few days ago, right? Yesterday we did, what do we do? Chondroitin sulfate, which has another very powerful effect on joint health. But today we're doing hyaluronic acid. It's our third ingredient. Again, a number of you asked about this. So as a public service, we're taking an ingredient. It takes us months to do this research. We ran it through CytoSolve and we have those results. But what's fascinating is MSM had the least amount of research. Chondroitin sulfate had about 20,000 papers. But you can see when we look at here, when we look at when we consider, I think I'll make it a little bit bigger for you guys. Does that help? Okay, good. When we look at hyaluronic acid, nearly 39,994 pieces of research have been done on it. Okay, so it's quite a lot of research when you put it in perspective to the other things we've talked about. All right, so of those 39,000 pieces of paper, nearly 1,700 clinical trials were done. So this is nearly double the amount we did on chondroitin. Okay, so if we look at this, what do we do at CytoSolve? We take all of that research, okay, and then we drive it through a bioinformatics process. So we're looking at that research, we're identifying the key papers, the relevant ones, the ones that had a lot of citations, references, etc. And then out of that, we extract out right here the molecular mechanisms, which we're going to walk you through. And then we create an architecture. In this case, we're not looking at hyaluronic acid at all different functions. This is across all different areas. Hyaluronic acid probably for skin care, a whole bunch of things. We're looking at the ones on the molecular system of joint health. And then we integrate all of these. And then right now we're publishing it directly to you. All right. What I want to contrast this with is the approach that I'm talking about here is a systems approach. We're not taking what we call a cherry picking approach. The cherry picking approach is what, unfortunately, the reductionist science does. So if you look at a large problem, you don't try to understand the whole. You look for pieces that you want to do because you have a political agenda or some other monetary agenda. What we're doing is we're taking a systems approach. A systems approach says we're going to look at the whole. We're not going to look at the parts that are convenient for us. So that's, and by the way, the reductionist approach is best exemplified by these blind men, the story of the blind men touching the elephant over here. So they're looking at the pieces of the problem. And the problem with the blind man approach is you never see the whole elephant. The blind men are touching it. If they were to get together, this is what you would see. And it's a funny diagram that I wanted to put together, but it gives you an idea of reductionism. This is the opposite of a systems approach. And what I want to emphasize is on the idea of understanding all systems in the world, politicians, lawyers, Republican, Democrat, left, right, they don't want you to see the whole problem. They want you to see a little piece because they're looking at cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. They're looking at making money for themselves in some way. They may talk a good game, but ultimately they don't want to see the whole problem. Either they're ignorant of how to do it or they're purposefully doing it. They want to keep us blinded, like these blind men, in a left-right perspective. So one of the foundations of CytoSolve is we don't want to be these stupid blind men. We want to see the whole. And this occurs in every field. It's occurred in medical research. It's occurred in climate change research. People just look at a piece of the problem. Now, what is a systems approach? Well, a systems approach, for me, really began in wanting to understand the whole. Well, and I was very fortunate because I have the ability, or the fortune I had was the fact that I was exposed to the Western systems approach of looking at the body. So if the body's on top, the large-scale organizations, it's composed of various functional modules which relate to different biomolecular pathways, which are composed of genes, proteins, etc. So this is the top-down view of the Western approach of medicine. And it's done some amazing discoveries. If you're in a crisis situation, definitely this approach is quite profound. The other approach is the Eastern approach, which I was also exposed to as a child growing up in India, where my grandmother looked at the body as chakras and energies, which are composed of tissues, which are composed of these energies of Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which were further composed of the 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, earth, and energy, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. This is known as the system of Siddha or Ayurvedic medicine. And then you had Prakriti and Purusha. So my interest was, well, I finished my PhD in 2007, and I had all the credentials, right? Meaning, if I wanted to go explore Indian, what they would consider woo-woo medicine, if I didn't have my PhD, people try to dismiss me. So I've been studying this for a long time, but I decided, hey, now that I have all those credentials, why don't I try to unify these two worlds of East and West, which means this world and this world in this way. So because I know both of these systems of value, I'm not here to take a pro-East perspective or pro-West. I want to take a very functionally unbiased objective view to say both of these systems can be valuable, but what is the interconnection? So I applied for a Fulbright, and this was on the front page of MIT, where MIT thought it was quite interesting. Why would I want to go back to India, right? To them, hey, you got all these degrees, start your next company. I already done about 5 companies. But instead, I took about a 2-year hiatus on what's called a Fulbright scholarship, a very prestigious, competitive scholarship that I applied for. I was one of the few at MIT to get it. And so I used the scholarship to go back to India. And I studied this system of Indian medicine. Now, the Western perspective of engineering science had taught me 3 very powerful phenomena that drive the universe: transport of information, matter, and energy; conversion of information, matter, and energy; storage or structure of information, matter, and energy. So if you look at your body, the transport part is, let's say you put something into your mouth, it flows through and you get your bowel movements and out. That's transport. Conversion is the ability where you're taking whatever you eat and your digestive system converts it. Storage is where you're storing the nutrients, fat and fat cells or muscle tissue, etc., right? So you can think about your computer. You transport input, output, and your CPU converts it. 1 + 1 is 2. And the storage occurs in USB drive. So what I want to share with you is I had learned in engineering systems theory that transport, conversion, and storage from the Western perspective were very amazing concepts. And in our course, when you become a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior, we train people. In 1 hour, I can teach you these concepts. I can't do it right here in 5 minutes, but transport, conversion, and storage are something that you learn in the engineering sciences, okay? However, what my grandmother taught me was a different way of looking at the world. But what I discovered was she looked at the word as vata, pitta, and kapha. She would characterize your body as vata or pitta or kapha. Guess what? Vata is transport, pitta is conversion, and kapha is storage. And in fact, the Indian healing system didn't even recognize. So I was the first one to really connect this system. And then I created a whole course. When I got back to MIT in 2010-11, I went to the director of MIT's, or the head of the department. I said, Doug Laufenberg, I think I have a way to interconnect Eastern and Western medicine. So I created a lecture series, and very expensive to go to MIT. So we had 200 people in a course. And then I used to teach it at one of the large institutes, the Chopra Center. We used to charge $2,500 for this. A lot of people, disposable income came, but I wasn't interested in the lecture circuit. I took all that knowledge and I made it a course that was accessible to many people. It was called systemshealth.com. And we put thousands of medical professionals, nurses, healers through this program. And you can go check it out. We have as a part of that program, I also have a tool called Your Body, Your System. And you can actually use this tool to ask yourself a set of questions, figure out how much transport, conversion, and storage you have in your body. And that determines your system type. Then we can figure out that black dot, answering a different set of questions, how you're off course. And this is Your Body, Your System. It's a tool. And anyone who joins as a supporter gets this as a part of your contribution. Anyone who becomes a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior gets this tool. But this tool integrates Eastern and Western medicine. And finally, you can understand how foods and supplements and things can bring you back to you. But anyway, I also created that into a certification program called the Systems Health Master Certification. Many different courses, and everyone's welcome to take it. It's again, we used to offer it at MIT. We used to offer it all over the world. But I've made this accessible now for about $100 for people who contribute. So it's what used to be 25 times more. I wanted to get it to lots and lots of people. So that's systemshealth.com. The master's course is up there, and those of you join and you get certified, but those of you join the Warrior program get access to a distilled version of that called the Foundations of Systems program. You can take an exam, you can get certified, but fundamentally, what I teach in this course, a big discovery is that if you take the forces of transport, conversion, and storage, they interconnect to Eastern systems of medicine, but they also interconnect to any kind of system in the universe. They, in fact, interconnect to political systems. So when I ran for office in Massachusetts, our movement was Truth, Freedom, and Health. Well, guess what? Truth, Freedom, and Health is directly related to transport, conversion, and storage, okay? So our movement, the movement that we've created for everyone here, is not a political movement that's just founded on some dumb slogan, lock her up and you never deliver, but it's created on the slogan that freedom is the infinite nature of the universe wanting us to move energy, move information, move matter, transport. Truth is our ability to take a concept or an idea, apply the scientific method, convert it, find if it's truth. Health, which is based on the storage and the infrastructure aspect of our body. So that's what we created. And that's the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement that I play the video for. And those of you who want to join it, what the intention here is, this is not just pure education, pure theory. That's not what I'm interested in. In fact, the symbol at MIT, if you look at it, is Mets et Manus, which means mind, scholarliness, theory, and practice. So if you look at the symbol, it's got a guy who's studying a book, which is we teach you all the deep knowledge of the physics of political physics, science of systems, but then you go do action. Now, in order to do that, the technology platform I created for all of you, which is frankly because of your contributions, is that on that platform, you yourself can engage in this platform, as I'm going to show you right here in some of these slides, and you can go to vashiva.com and become a member. What you're able to do here on this platform is, the goal is to get you educated, to build community, and then get you activated. It's not just about getting you just, I know more than Shiva, an MIT guy, taught me. So when you go to the platform and you sign in, we have featured videos. We have the education where you can take the Foundations of Systems course. You will understand what this diagram is. You will get an MIT control systems education out of this in a conceptual way. You can understand the fundamentals of all systems. Then you can understand to apply this to your body, your system, what I shared with you earlier. Then you can take it another step further. You can then get all the training material, the ebooks. Again, this is a best-selling book. the System and Revolution book, and 3 other textbooks you get. And then finally get access to scientific reports, which I'm going to share with you one of today. And then you can build community so you don't feel alone. We have a forum where you can join independent of big tech, where you can interconnect with hundreds of thousands of other people all over the planet and have conversations with them without thinking big tech is going to throw you off. This is in our infrastructure. Then we have the equivalent of Facebook, right? Where you can set up, like Marie has her Facebook or Shiva, VA Shiva social page. You can connect with other members, and then you can get activated. We have actions that you can do. There's a vaccine card or a mask card here where you can print out these cards where you can not fight with people, but educate people on the science of masks. You can educate people on the public health implications. You can educate people with the Beyond Vax, Anti-Vax flyer on why this is not about vaccines or anti-vaccines. This is actually about boosting the immune system. So anyway, and all of that, we want all of you to have as a Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior contributor, or if you want to be a supporter, or if you just want to be a member, okay? So that's what I've created. And the reason I have to share that each of these things is because it is your contributions which are making our science possible. It is your contributions which are helping us to actually build the infrastructure. So it's what's enabling me to do this talk I'm doing today because of your support. So let's go to hyaluronic acid, all right? So hyaluronic acid, okay, what is it, all right? Hopefully I ran Instagram, you guys are cool. Okay, what is hyaluronic acid, okay? Well, first of all, it's what's called a disaccharide, okay? Yesterday we looked at chondroitin, which is a polysaccharide, and it's a joint health supplement. And you can see the connection of this. This looks a lot like a sugar, okay? It's got D-glucuronic acid and acetyl D-glucosamine, okay? So here's N-acetyl D-glucosamine right here, and here's glucuronic acid right here, okay? So these two structures, N-acetyl galactosamine and D-glucuronic acid, make hyaluronic acid. So it's really a naturally occurring, what's called a polymer is multiple molecules interconnecting. Now, this is in both prokaryotic as well as eukaryotic cells, and its key role is in cushioning and lubricating the body. It's clinically shown to protect cartilage, all right? So that's what hyaluronic acid is. It protects your cartilage. It's clinically shown to do that, but it's really the cushioning aspect of what it works, and it's found in both prokaryote and eukaryote cells. So where do you get hyaluronic acid? Well, these are some interesting areas. Well, first of all, you can get it in bone broth. You know, there's a lot of people really supporting bone broth. Well, one area is bone broth. The other is organ meats, fish eyeballs. You know, some cultures, as you may know, or you may not know, are very much into, when I was in Singapore, even in India, one of the most prized elements, if you eat fish, is you eat the entire fish head. It's called fish head soup, and you eat everything because the fish head is known to have lots of nutrients. In many cultures, traditional cultures, you make bone broth soup, right? You take bone, most cultures, you put a big bone in and you cook it very, very slowly. So the bone broth has a lot of hyaluronic acid, all right? That's the other piece. So these are, the sources of it. So here's some other sources. So remember, I said prokaryote and eukaryote. So this is a eukaryote, the animal cells, and prokaryote. So unlike chondroitin, where you can only get it in animal, look what hyaluronic acid, you can also get it in root vegetables, soy-based foods, citrus fruits, and leafy greens, okay? If you want to take a note of that. So you're getting it in the meats, so those of people who are meat eaters, you're also getting it in vegetable sources. All right, so multiple sources. So what are the biological effects of hyaluronic acid? All right, what are those biological effects? Well, one of the biological effects, it hydrates your tissue. This is why you'll see this in a lot of skincare products. It lubricates your tissue. It provides structural integrity in cells and tissue. So what is structural integrity? If you understand transport, conversion, storage, when we teach this to people in our course, in our system, structural integrity, it's the infrastructure. So if you think about the highway system in an organization, if you think about the cell membranes, if you think about the structure of your home, hyaluronic acid provides structural integrity. Okay, it's really the infrastructure part. Very, very valuable for that. So let's go back. So when you look at this, It provides, and it's a large polymer, okay? It's about 1,000 kilodaltons. It's a anti-angiogenic, and it's an immunosuppressant. What does anti-angiogenic mean? Well, angiogenesis is a process that occurs when, knock on wood, no one gets cancer here, but when a tumor lands and it starts to proliferate, it starts putting out its own vasculature, which means its own blood supply lines. That's called angiogenesis. So hyaluronic acid, as the research shows, the large polymers are anti-angiogenic. The small polymers, so there's two sets, are pro-inflammatory or pro-angiogenic, okay? So there's two types of polymers here. So the health benefits are it improves cartilage regeneration. And this is what our researchers showed from looking at the literature. It improves skin hydration, promotes wound healing, it regulates skin aging, and it facilitates targeted drug delivery for tumor treatment. What do I mean by that? What that means is a lot of the drug companies are incorporating hyaluronic acid because it can deliver a anti-tumor drug to its place and basically make things much more bioavailable. So even the drug companies are interested in hyaluronic acid. All right, so it facilitates targeted delivery. So so everything I've shared with you is from our literature analysis. Now, CytoSolve not only does a bioinformatic analysis, but we can actually mathematically model on the computer joint health or cardiovascular health, and we've done this. Been doing this for 16 years. We've helped a lot of companies. So I'm going to talk to you about CytoSolve because what we're going to do in this presentation first is a literature analysis, and then we literally model what hyaluronic acid does at the molecular level. And you're not going to get this anywhere because we took years understanding these molecular pathways and then modeling it. All right. So, and what do those results show? So let's go to understand that. So first of all, just a quick background on CytoSolve. If you want to know more, go to cytosolve.com. And the reason we show this pill with this grid is because we are literally helping a lot of the nutritional companies in the world. You know, there's a lot of snake oil in the nutritional world. People are throwing all sorts of crap together. If you ask them, why did you do that? Blah, blah, blah. A lot of hand waving. What CytoSolve does is we're finding out what stuff actually works in the nutritional world and what stuff's garbage. That's what we do without killing animals. That's what's powerful. So here, by the way, this is how pharma companies discover drugs. It's this unidirectional model. And by the way, when they discover drugs, they are not, what they're doing is they are not just looking at natural compounds like hyaluronic. They're looking at compounds that don't exist in nature. Then they do stuff in a test tube. Then they kill a bunch of animals. And then they go to human trials. Well, it takes them about $5 billion and 13 years. This is why they want to move into the vaccine market, because you don't have to go through the same process, okay? It's a very different process. It's cheaper, low liability. And if you look, they spend year over year a ton of money in this defunct process. And even the FDA is not allowing their drugs because of the side effects. So pharma's losing big right now. So my view was, I thought pharma guys would want to use this. We work with some of them, but they were really, they move slow. They want to follow their old process. But we found a lot of the nutritional companies wanted to use it. So what is CytoSolve? Well, CytoSolve, we discovered in 2003, not we, the Human Genome Project, that we have the same number of genes as a worm. All right? We don't have 100,000 genes. We only have 20,000 genes. So that led into the recognitions. Genes are not what make us. It's all the interconnection. So if you look at the cell, it's just not the cell nucleus where the DNA is. It's all the molecular interactions. So in 2003, this is when I returned back to MIT because I wanted to use my mathematical experience, use my experience in engineering to build software to say, hey, could I mathematically model the whole human cell? That became my PhD work between 2003 to 7. And during that time, what I did was I created a whole new invention, which was literally we could model molecular pathways like these little ball and stick diagrams, convert them to models, and integrate them to create large-scale mechanistic understanding of any kind of disease, all different kinds of biomolecular function. So using this, what this means is I could go through all the literature without cherry picking, take a systems approach, and literally develop a holistic systems approach to understanding different diseases. So several years ago, we were funded by the Arthritis Foundation and the University Health Network of all of Canada to use CytoSolve because we could do the work of hundreds of scientists in a short period of time. So we literally went through every research paper that had ever been written in the literature about, guess what? About osteoarthritis, joint health. And we went through all that literature, and using our approach, we could extract the literature, we could bring in the research community, we wrote papers on this, but fundamentally what CytoSolve was able to do was we were able to analyze all different compounds, use this technology long before we did cell testing. By the way, that's how we build airplanes, right? We don't just throw pilots in here, we use the computer. And so we were able to take this systems approach to understanding joint health or human knee osteoarthritis. So, and one of the most important things that I'm very proud of was the research that we discovered, which I'm going to share with you very quickly, is all the molecular mechanisms of joint health, osteoarthritis. We just didn't publish it in a little journal only for the dweebs to read or the finite set of scientists. We published it in an open source, open science. So I'm going to share that with you. So if you go to cytosolve.com/ I'll show this to you, and knee osteoarthritis, you will literally, let me go there right now. I'm going to go live to that site so everyone can get access to this. I'll show you right here. So cytosolve.com, knee OA. Here we go. So this is the site that we created as really a huge public service for the world. It's for the world science community. So what we can do with CytoSolve, let me go here, is that I'm going to go right here. And this is a website. Everyone's welcome to go to. I assume everyone can see it here. And we published this for the world. It was done with. I want to thank our colleagues at the University Health Program, at the Division of Orthopedics in Toronto, Ontario, as well as the CytoSolve Systems Biology Program. And by the way, there's a white paper here. Anyone can read. It's free. Open science. You can actually read all the stuff that we did, how we did all this. I encourage you guys to all go enjoy this. But for those who are not, super science nerds, you can just use this diagram. So you can explore the entire joint. We're looking at the human knee joint, which has got these 7 different tissues. Okay, osteophytes, fat pad, meniscus, subchondral bone. If you click on subchondral bone, it gives you the different cells that make it, like osteoblasts. And you go into osteoblasts, you can find the different ligands, right? And you can find the different cytokines. And you can really look at TNF alpha, okay? You can literally traverse all of these to understand how all of, just this one little tissue. When we look at cartilage, which is what we want to look at here, cartilage has a particular, let me just make sure everyone is good over here. Yep. So cartilage has cartilage is a tissue made up of cells called chondrocytes. Chondrocytes are a cell. Now on that cell is many receptors, and different molecules called ligands can land on it. And one of them is called cytokines. Now here, if you look at IL-1 beta, which is an inflammatory cytokine, I'm going to explore that. You can go look at all different kinds of different molecules that IL-1 beta, which is an inflammatory cytokine, upregulates. Those are the molecules in green. And by the way, this was our Herculean effort. So if you look at COX-2, COX-2 has an inflammatory effect. And then you can go explore this, and you can see here's IL-1 beta, it creates COX-2. And you can see, hey, look at cordyceps, which are a very powerful mushroom. Cordyceps literally prevent IL-1 beta. Very cool. You can go back here, and you can say, okay, I want to look at something else, okay? I want to look at, let me look at, let's go back here, okay? So I don't want to look at human knee. I want to look at maybe something beyond the human knee architecture, okay? Let me just bring this over here, right? I want to go back and I want to look at a different ligand here, okay? Maybe I want to go look at how it upregulates another inflammatory cytokine called MMP13. Sorry, oops, let me go back. This is the one I like to show off here because it's pretty cool. MMPP13, which actually degenerates cartilage. It has a catabolic effect. And when you go in through here, you can find out all the different molecules. So if you can see, here's IL-1 beta. IL-1 beta gives rise to MMPP13. And look at all these amazing nutrients that can inhibit it. So here's ginseng, as I talked about. So if you click on ginseng, you go right to the paper that has it. So literally, what we've done here is we've mapped out every molecular pathway of joint health. And this has not been done. And more importantly, we've made this accessible to the world. But we're not, and this is a way, my view is, part of the thing I think the world needs is we need citizen science, we need system science. So every one of you, please take advantage of this. But this was about a 3-year research effort. Let me see how people are doing. Everyone cool with that? Okay. Right. So that's what we've done here. We've created a way that all of you can become citizen scientists. That's really so when we look at this whole mapping we did, when we want to look at how hyaluronic acid affects this mapping, let me go back here. We now wanted to look at the particular molecular pathways that affect joint health relative to hyaluronic acid. So let me go back to that now. So let's go back to the slide. Okay, let me share the screen here. So getting back here, so that was all the research we did for about many, many years to put all of that together. So once you understand that, let's go here. So what are the mechanisms? Now, we've talked about this before. These are the 4 major mechanisms involved in joint health, okay? Which I've talked about before, all right? Inflammation, right? You get pain and inflammation, oxidative stress, cartilage degeneration, cartilage regeneration. These are the 4 main, there's many others involved in joint health. And these are the different molecular mechanisms which we've mathematically modeled with CytoSolve. Inflammation, oxidative stress, cartilage degeneration, cartilage regeneration, okay? And we've mathematically modeled this. And for each one of these mechanisms, there are different biomarkers. So if you have high levels of PGE2, inflammation's going on. If you have high levels of ROS, which means reactive oxygen species, that means you have the aspect of, that means you got, oxidative stress. Your body is undergoing rusting. Cartilage degeneration comes from that MMPP13. Cartilage regeneration is when you get collagen 2 development, okay? So when you really think about it, there are 4 major mechanisms that you want to assess. How does this ingredient affect any one of those 4? And what you're going to find is not all ingredients work for everything. This is why this deep dive analysis really helps you. Now, when you're going to, shop for a supplement, this gives you like a grid. Okay, well, what is hyaluronic acid really good for? Day before, we talked about how MSM is good for oxidative stress. We talked about yesterday how chondroitin is good for cartilage regeneration, right? Wasn't that great for inflammation? Well, what is hyaluronic acid good for? Okay, so that's what we want to find out. So let's jump back into this. So we find out hyaluronic acid on joint health. Number 1, the bioinformatics analysis. Let me just be clear. At CytoSolve, we want to give you a holistic systems picture. So first we look at all the body of literature and what that says. That's called bioinformatics. Then we take all the molecular pathways and we mathematically model it in CytoSolve. And that will give us even like a deeper microscopic understanding. And that to us gives us a much deeper idea. So you don't just want to believe what this person says. You want to combine it and further combine it with the computational approach. So if we take the bioinformatics approach, well, what our discovery showed from the bioinformatics is hyaluronic acid affects 2 of the joint health mechanisms, cartilage degradation and cartilage regeneration, okay? So it really affects these 2. It doesn't affect all 4, it affects 2, according to the bioinformatics research. So again, to be clear, it's not gonna help you with inflammation, it's not gonna help you with oxidative stress, but our research shows it's gonna have profound effects, at least from the bioinformatics, on degradation and regeneration. So hyaluronic acid increases cartilage regeneration and it reduces cartilage degradation. And so this is how it does it, right? So it supports cartilage regeneration and it stops cartilage degeneration. By the way, when you look at these drawings, oops, sorry about that. Sorry, guys, over on. So when you look at these drawings, what I want to mention to all of you is the green arrow means it's supportive of something. The red thing with the hammer at the end, this is, again, in biology or biochemistry, it means it stops something. It inhibits something. The other is it accentuates it or upregulates something, okay? So I'll be doing a lot of those diagrams. You'll see many of the talks we'll give. And you, by the way, you can apply this, you can think about this, you can apply this to, there are certain things that promote truth, good scientific method. Scientific consensus stops truth, okay? There's certain things that promote health, right? There's certain things that stop health, certain things that support freedom, The First Amendment and the Second Amendment support freedom. Censorship stops freedom. Okay, so you can take a systems approach. So what we see here is that hyaluronic acid has these two effects, and these are the two mechanisms it hits. So now let's talk about the health benefits again from a bioinformatics standpoint. How does hyaluronic acid stop support or stop cartilage degeneration? So cartilage degeneration is right here. Well, we know IL-1 beta, which is an inflammatory cytokine, is a hallmark of joint disease. So if you were to go to your doctor and you say, hey, look, can I have my IL-1 beta levels checked? Okay, it's a marker. It'll tell you, where you are on the spectrum for joint health, okay? Joint disease. So IL-1 beta, a very, very good marker. So if you have IL-1 beta a lot in your blood, it's going to promote the production through this other, so that's what it promotes, P38 MAPK. It's going to give you MMPP13, which is going to cause cartilage degeneration. All right, you don't want this. Well, guess what hyaluronic acid does? Boom, it stops this. It stops IL-1 beta from upregulating this to get this pathway. So the downregulation of MMP13 right here by hyaluronic acid prevents cartilage degradation. Okay, that's what the bioinformatics work does. But hyaluronic acid also supports cartilage regeneration. Hyaluronic acid activates AKT enzyme, which supports collagen 2, which supports cartilage regeneration. So let me just make that very clear. Collagen 2 is a thing that you want your body to produce, right? If you're doing, you don't want that to be degraded. So collagen 2 production is supported by hyaluronic acid. So hyaluronic acid has a 1-2 punch. It creates AKT, which increases collagen 2 production, and it stops IL-1 beta going to MPP13, which stops cartilage degradation. Okay, so that's what I mean by the 1-2 punch. All right, there you go. Now, so there, okay. So I want to, so basically what I just shared with you, how's everyone on Instagram doing? You guys good? Okay, good. Hello to everyone on Instagram. Hope you're doing okay. Let's go back here. All right. So the key point here is that is a bioinformatics. That's from taking all the literature. Now what I'm going to do is we use the CytoSolve, the other part of the technology, to mathematically model, okay, the cartilage degradation and regeneration functions. And then we're going to actually do experiments where we drop a certain amount of hyaluronic acid to see if it lowers MMPP13, right? Because that's the thing that's involved in cartilage degradation. And on the other hand, does it increase collagen 2? All right, so that's what we did in our computational experiments, right? Again, no animals were killed in this research. So MMPP13, which is the biomarker of cartilage degradation. So we did experimental conditions. We did dosage of 2.5 to 5 milligrams per day over 2 days. So look at this. This is pretty cool. So you have a high level of, you have 556.1 level of MMPP13, and it brings it down. It doesn't bring it down massively, but it definitely does bring it down. If you look at the scales here. So under controlled conditions, MMP13, where we have 456 without hyaluronic acid, increased supplementation showed a decreasing trend towards lowering MMPP13. Okay, and this is only for 2 days. As you do it, it'll probably go lower and lower. Hyaluronic acid has a low to moderate effect on cartilage degradation at the dosage of study. So we only studied this dosage, and there you see the trend is it definitely reduces cartilage degradation. The next thing we did was we looked at collagen 2 production. We started with around 1,500, and look at this. This goes up by nearly 20%, right? 15 to 20%. Massive improvement, okay? And this is only at about 2.5 to 10 milligrams per day. So under control condition, the collagen 2 values were 15, 20 right here. That's control. This is where you're at normal. And with supplementation, it has a very nice effect at about 100 milligram dosage of hyaluronic acid. And beyond that, it doesn't seem to. I mean, we could go much higher, which we didn't do, which we can do. So the bottom line is, what we're finding is hyaluronic acid lowers cartilage degeneration. It gets rid of that, and it increases collagen 2. And we, in fact, if we do it as a heat map, so it doesn't affect these two pathways, it affects somewhat nominally cartilage degradation, but it definitely affects cartilage regeneration. So now, one of the principles that I want everyone to learn is that the reason I created CytoSolve is because I was very fascinated by traditional cultures and the different foods they ate. So in India, for example, you don't just eat turmeric, right? You don't just eat one herb. They created something called curry over thousands of years. What is curry? Curry is a combination of many, many herbs. What we just saw here is hyaluronic acid affects multiple pathways, okay? Right? It has a synergistic effect. Well, similarly, if you take multiple ingredients, you can have a synergistic effect. So what happens if you take MSM and you take chondroitin, which we discussed yesterday, and you take hyaluronic acid? It may have a synergistic effect. With CytoSolve, we're able to discover those synergistic effects. Now, for nearly 15 years, we've been helping a lot of companies do it. But over the last 5 years, we realized that we had built up this amazing knowledge base of mathematical models. So we started saying, wow, why don't we, instead of begging to those companies, they give us good money, we've helped them a lot. Why don't we start using our own technology to start looking at nature and start computing ingredients? And I'm going to show you an example. We've created a new product called MV25, and you can get it online. But this came out of a lot of research, which is really for joint discomfort and swelling and pain and inflammation. But before I go to that, I want to teach you from a systems perspective. It's not just we need truth and we need freedom and we need health. We need all three. You can't just have a bunch of yoga people who are doing yoga all day being earthy, crunchy granola. You can't just have the 1A, 2A people wanting First Amendment and free speech and the Second Amendment. You don't just want nerds fighting for truth and innovation. We need all three. We need truth, freedom, and health. That's how we get what we deserve, and that's what the universe wants. Similarly, same principle, same synergy principle of systems, we can apply to at the physical body level. We need to take a synergistic approach. With CytoSolve, we're able to identify those synergies. So let me go back here. So let me give you what that principle is. So some of you may know that one of the big discoveries is that turmeric, which is the herb in the Indian tradition, which is this yellow, deep yellow saffron herb. By the way, when I grew up in India, you see these yogis mixing stuff. And if you went to them and say, hey, what are you mixing? Can you tell me why you're putting this much of this, that much of this? They can't really explain it to you directly. In fact, many of the supplement companies can. But with CytoSolve, we took turmeric, which is that yellow herb, and we were able to, the outer circle here is a cell wall. The inner circle is all the molecular pathways. We looked at 6,000 papers, and we did the first integrated look at where does curcumin hit? And this is a nucleus. And then we were mathematically able to model curcumin. Then we looked at resveratrol, which is the skin of red grapes. And then we said, what happens when you're having your curry meal and you're having your red wine? Because that's where resveratrol, you can find a lot of it. So what happens when you combine these? Will it lower inflammation more? And what should the dosages be? So here, what we're able to do is we're able to do a mathematical experiment without killing animals. So what I want to show you here, the right column here is we're simulating inflammation. When you have 0.15, that means you have inflammation taking place in your body. I'm not giving any curcumin, any resveratrol. So this is called the control. So by the way, in the biological sciences, you always want to set a control condition. So we're saying I have a lot of inflammation. I'm not giving any curcumin. I'm not giving any resveratrol. No red grapes, no red wine, and no turmeric, right? And so that's the first experiment we did right here, okay? Let me go to this. So the second experiment we do is what happens when you just give curcumin right here. You see, no resveratrol, just watch what happens. The inflammation goes from 0.15 and it drops dramatically. Very good. Then we just give resveratrol. Again, no animals were killed. We're doing this mathematically. It went from 0.15 to 0.06. But this is what's called the synergistic principle. I lowered the amount of curcumin from 5 to 3 by 40%. I lowered the amount of resveratrol by 60%. Watch what happens. The inflammation drops from 0.5 to 0.03, nearly double. The 200% drop. This is called the synergistic effect. This is why food is medicine. This is why we want to combine things. Now, to find those right combinations before the advent of CytoSolve, people are just doing it ad hoc. They throw this in and they throw that in. Now, over thousands of years, people figured out, like in curry, how much you put in. But with CytoSolve, we're able to take a systems approach to find the right combinations for the right person, in fact. In fact, with CytoSolve, we can even load up genetics, by the way, all right? I'm not going to get into that right now, but CytoSolve allows, by the way, people are asking, what is the name of the site? vashiva.com, okay? So what I'm really pleased to share with all of you today is that I've been doing this research. We've helped lots of companies, but I realized that the companies move slow. We have all the technology. We have a lot of intellectual property we've created. So we said, wow, since inflammation and discomfort are one of the biggest things that affect people, we started looking at all the different kinds of ingredients out there. We ran them through CytoSolve. We did trillions of computations, and we have come up with our own product. It's going to be coming out soon. People can start pre-ordering. It's called MV25, and I'm really excited to share this with you. I know some of you guys have been going crazy ordering it. Probably will. You got to order it soon because it's a completely different approach. It's taking an east-west approach. So MV25, here it is. And by the way, if you want to know where to get it, everyone asks where to get it, and I'll come to it. You can go to vashiva.com, the shop. But what is MV25? It's under our new label, and we want to emphasize to people, we're not taking some natural approach. We're not taking some pharma approach. We're taking a scientific systems approach. That's why we're clear to let people know I'm a systems biologist. It's an engineering systems approach. So MV means mass times velocity, which means momentum, and momentum to move. And notice it's a blend of bioflavonoids. And on the back of this thing, I want to share this with you. What we're very clear to share with people, I want to emphasize this, is that we want to tell people, look, we want to take this very powerful systems approach. And what does that mean? Let me bring this down here. I want to do this. Okay. Oops, I did something wrong here. Sorry about that. Sorry, 1 second, guys. I do not want this. Sorry. Okay, so go back to this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I got to share the screen again. Sorry about that. Okay, so if we go to MV25, on the back of this label, you'll see what we've done. To be very clear what we're doing, it says Dr.SHIVA MV25 was formulated using the CytoSolve computational systems biology platform, a technology for precision and personalized health invented by Dr.SHIVA during his doctoral research at MIT. This formulation results from integrating thousands of peer-reviewed scientific papers across 4 decades in 68 research institutions. So we literally went through 68 research institutions' paper, thousands of papers, and computed trillions of potential combinations of biomolecular interactions to discover an optimal synergy of compounds that downregulate biomarkers of discomfort and normal swelling. CytoSolve optimized means this formula has been optimized to maximize benefits and bioavailability while minimizing toxicity based on current research curated by CytoSolve. As the science advances, so will this formulation. This is our promise. And then on the front, you can see it's certified clean, it's made in the USA, and it supports the Truth Freedom Health movement. So the reason I wanted to share this with you, what we're doing here is, if you go to most of these supplement companies, all marketing, marketing, marketing. If you ask them, how did you come up with these combinations? Well, we threw this in, we read one paper. That's not what we're doing here. We went through thousands of research papers, extracted all those molecular mechanisms, and computed. So there's no claim here we're making. We're basically saying the methodology we're doing here is like 23rd century science, okay? So that's what we're doing here. And by the way, those of you who are asking me, how do you get access to this? I'll show you right now. If you go to vashiva.com, victoralphashiva.com, and you go to vashiva.com right here, let me go to vashiva.com, and it's our website. By the way, that's where you go to support the Truth Freedom Health movement. And those of you who become Truth Freedom Health warriors, you get I think there's a discount that we're offering. But if you go right to the shop, hopefully everyone can see this. You see people on Instagram can see this? Yes. So if you go to the shop right here, right on top, we just launched this, and you can pre-order. So if you go right to here, pre-order on vashiva.com, it's in the card here. Please order it. Check it out. But it's going to go very, very fast. The pre-orders and the deliveries are going to start, end of this month. So pre-order, and this is MV25, and this is what we've created. So what's really exciting about this is that we are now applying a systems biology approach, a systems approach. No one's ever done this. because we have the CytoSolve engine. Again, CytoSolve, we take a synergistic approach. And what we did here was we found two very amazing compounds that occur in nature. And we went through all the trillions of molecular reactions to identify this combination. But the most important promise is we're not saying the science is over. We're constantly mining the literature. We're constantly going to update the science. So this is almost like CytoSolve is an operating system. The combination we found today, 6 months, a year from now, we may find a better combination. So it's just like, you get the iOS and the operating system improves. As the operating system improves, our formulations are going to improve. Okay, that's our promise. So it's a way also you guys can support the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement. You can support it by helping yourself. By the way, one of the things that's my philosophy is that life has to be reciprocal. You support the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement. We're going to educate you with becoming a warrior, member of the warrior community. We give you books, we give you knowledge, we give you community. That's what our platform is at vashiva.com/join. You join the community. We want to give you support of all the amazing new products that we're going to be coming up with, education, new products. So while we're attacking the establishment, we don't have to wait for them to do stuff. We don't have to wait for big pharma ever to get their act together, or even the nutraceutical companies. With CytoSolve, we're taking a systems approach. So we're going to develop amazing products. We're looking at products for immune health. We're looking at the whole range, cardiovascular health. We're going to go after everything now. At 16 years, we have the models. We don't want to wait for these big companies. We're far more nimble. So it's going to get very exciting, but that's only the health piece. We have the your body, your system. We have the tools, but it's about empowering you. That's what this is about. It's about empowering you for truth, freedom, and health. All right, let's see. So in summary, let me go back to our PowerPoint. I've been skipping between the PowerPoints and the website. So let me go back here. So in closing, by the way, MV25 is at vashiva.com/join the shop. One thing that we're very proud of is this is clean food certified. It's certified clean, and it's gone through GMP certification, etc. So people are asking, hey, how much hyaluronic acid should I take? Like, what should I do? By the way, this is not a medical program. You should talk to your doctors. Big disclaimer here. What we're doing is we're looking at the science and we're sharing with you what the scientific literature says, okay? And we're distilling it for you. And you're welcome to go read all those papers too. I welcome everyone to go do their own research. So what is hyaluronic acid? Well, the dosaging for wound healing that came out in 2019 from Schneider et al. Is you can get it as a cream, about 0.2% cream. You can go get this for wound healing. For osteoarthritis, Thaler et al. Says you can get 2 milliliter, 0.8% Hyalin GF, right? Which is 16 milligram solution. You can take it every 3 days. So this is for osteoarthritis. You can take it as a solution, or you can get it as a cream if you're looking at wound healing, because this really supports, the cartilage regeneration, the tissue regeneration. But this is what the literature says, right? About 2 milliliters, 0.8%. Remember, hyaluronic GF 20 and 16 milligram solution. This was done in a 2005 research every 3 days. So once every 3 days. So in conclusion, what we found out is that bioinformatics, the literature says hyaluronic acid helps to reduce cartilage degradation, improves cartilage regeneration, and is clinically proven to improve joint health, skin hydration, accelerate wound healing. The CytoSolve computational analysis, one step even deeper, says hyaluronic acid is significantly effective for cartilage regeneration. Very powerful, anti-aging. Hyaluronic acid is low to moderately effective for cartilage degradation. So chondroitin is very good. So imagine combining this with chondroitin, okay? We can do a whole nother research on that. So that's what we found. And remember, when we look at this combination effect, it has a synergistic effect, right? And let me come back to this. That's why I keep pounding away that you have to take a systems approach. So as of today, on Wednesday, we talked about MSM. On Thursday, we talked about glucosamine chondroitin. Today, we talked about hyaluronic acid. If you think about it, they all affect different molecular pathways of joint health. Not any one of them is good for anything particular. And this is why CytoSolve is a powerful engine, because we can find synergistic effects. But that synergistic effect is how you want to start thinking about everything in the universe. Okay, if I want truth, freedom, and health, if I want health, It's not only one thing. It's not just exercise. It's not just eating the right foods. It's not just about getting sleep. It's a combination effect. This is why it comes down to lifestyle. And in order to have the lifestyle we need and deserve, we need truth, we need freedom, we need health. That's like the macromolecular effect of our life. Now, that systems approach is what we want to teach you. This is why we want to build a bottoms-up movement. You're not going to get this from Trump. You're not going to get this from the non-Trumpers. You're not going to get this from Bernie. You're not going to get this from the Republicans. You're not going to get this from the Democrats. You're not going to get this from left and right. So my job is to convince you that you need to break out of that paradigm. That is like the matrix. That is the matrix, the matrix of left and right. Getting out of the matrix is a systems approach. And that requires you to get your head out of the matrix or head out of you know what. And that means you have to step back and say, wow, I may be an unconscious incompetent. I may not know something really foundational. And so that's why every Monday evenings I teach the course, Foundations of Systems. And you got to take it for yourself. And if you don't want to do it, I'm not here to convince you, but what I'm here to tell you is for those of you who really want change and you're figuring out you want it, you're saying, wow, what the hell happened over the last 4 years? What the Democrats about? You're always going to be in this conundrum, but I have discovered that there is a science, the science of everything. It is system science. And once you learn that, you can use it to understand your body as a system. We give you tools, your body, your system. You can use it to understand all aspects, even if you're starting a startup company. The book, Your System, Your Life teaches you that. But most importantly, understanding that foundational systems principle gives you the ability then to understand principles. The principle of the interconnection of truth, freedom, and health. While we must fight for freedom in order to get truth, we must fight for health in order to have strength to fight for freedom. All these are interconnected. Number two, we need to build a bottoms-up decentralized movement. It's not going to come from Trump or Bernie or the left wing or the right wing or some freaking politicians. If you're going to run for election, don't run to win. Run to build the truth, freedom, and health movement. Run to educate people. Because the elections are rigged. They are selections, not elections. I'm going to talk about that tonight. Okay? And then fundamentally, the most important lesson is to understand the controlled opposition, that the establishment has two wings on its left and right to manipulate you. And without learning these three principles, they're like electricity, magnetism, and gravity. I have actually created the political physics of understanding change. And that political physics is founded on the same foundation of what I just shared with you on how hyaluronic acid works at the molecular systems level. So it's up to you. We want to build a movement. You know, I invented email, I invented CytoSolve, I got my degrees at MIT and all those great things, invented many companies. But if anything I want my legacy to be about, it's to be someone who educated you to create an army of truth, freedom, and health warriors where we fight in our local communities with a scientific foundation of transport, conversion, storage, truth, freedom, and health. It's not based on some freaking slogans, lock her up, you know, whatever the next slogan is. These people are very adept at creating, oh, I'm against the rhinos, I'm against the DNC. It's all bullshit. The only way to win is to build a bottoms-up movement. Do not get caught in the matrix. You were caught in it. I was, almost caught in it for 4 years, right? But it takes me a lot to do this critique. Get out of the Trump, non-Trump matrix. Get out of the Bernie, Democrat, Republican, pro, anti. It's not going to win the day. And even though these people may say some nice things, the only way to win the day is a bottoms-up movement. That's the only way. And if you don't understand it and you want to understand it, then become a truth, freedom, and health warrior. Understand the physics. But without you understanding that physics, you'll always not know. It's like, it's like I used to be a pitcher. I used to follow my coaches, but there were other students who didn't follow their coaches because they thought they knew it all. So they would blow up their arm. They would do all sorts of stupid things. Okay. It's like you saying, oh, I'm going to be an electrician. Or you're going to go to training? No, I'm going to just be an electrician. You start wiring, you blow up your house. Do this, you blow up, you start a fire. And then you say, you know what, maybe I need to go get training. Well, we're not going to build a movement. You're not going to build a bridge. You're not going to build an airplane without understanding scientific principles. And that is what we've created here. It is a scientific technology platform But in that, we build community. We have the equivalent of Facebook and forum. That's easy stuff. Okay, that's easy. Twitter is easy to build. I mean, you can build that in a couple of months. Nowhere as complicated as inventing email as a 14-year-old kid. But the real technology is to build the technology for liberating ourselves. And that's what we've done at VA Shiva. And I hope this talk and the talks I will continue to do every day will build that army, because we need to build a bottoms-up movement, because nature is decentralized. Truth, freedom, and health is what nature wants for us. It is natural law. So anyway, let me see if we have any questions, and I'll be obviously finish up with our program. So go to vashiva.com and become a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior. Someone said, precisely staying away from wasting my time on the BS. Take action in your own health and well-being. Love you, Shiva. Thank you. Someone says here, it's all about being free thinking and brainstorming without bias. Exactly, Jerry. It's important that we understand scientific principles. Look, if you look at those old movies, a guy trying to fly off an airplane, doing all these wacky things. And then someone said, oh my God, I got to understand Bernoulli's principle. Then we got an airplane off the ground. Now we have restaurants up in the air. That's what we can achieve. People think it's impossible to fight the establishment, that we're always going to lose. Well, it's impossible until someone says, how long does it take to model a substance on CytoSolve? Daniel, we've done so many substances, anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks. And those of you who want us to do stuff, you can email me. You can go to the website, vashiva.com, go to the customer service /contact and send us in. But sign up, become a member. If you don't want to, if you're not ready for the education to contribute, become a supporter, become a warrior, but learn, do it for yourself. Yes. Great thing. We need to learn to become advocates for ourselves and stop the dependency. Look, when you become they are most scared of the bottoms-up movement. Kate, you hit it on the nail. Kate, that's sheer brilliance there. The reason they're afraid of a bottoms-up movement means they lose all their funding. You're going to donate to Trump and the Democratic and the party. Just remember this, okay? No election fraud was fought by the Trump lawyers. We in Massachusetts are fighting it. We have the only 2 lawsuits that have gotten 4 or 5 victories right now. And you're looking at moi, who did it without any lawyers, because we take a systems approach even to fighting a lawsuit. They just collected $300 million, guys. And they have a bunch of scumbags on the Republicans and the Trump establishment now, which is going to start a fight with the RNC. And they're going to try to keep the Trumpers attached. No different Bernie and AOC trying to act as though they're against the DNC. We got to wake up. We got to build a bottoms-up movement. All right. Unconscious incompetence. Exactly. The unconscious incompetence will say, well, Trump did a lot of good things. Bernie says a lot of good things. Da, 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 da. That's unconscious incompetence. When you understand the dynamics of the not so obvious establishment, you say, wait a minute, what actually occurred? Last 4 years, nothing happened to Hillary. We're on the verge of forced vaccinations. We're all running around wearing masks. Thousands of businesses got destroyed. We have 25% unemployment rate. $6.2 trillion got transferred, to the stock market. Oh yeah, Trump did a lot for us. Well, Trump got us all riled up because he needs a working class. The establishment needs a working class to always get distracted. Bernie did that previous 4 years ago and then sold out everyone to Hillary and Biden. Now Trump is over there negotiating because he wants a negotiating thing. They use this as chips and they'll get some monetary enhancement or whatever. They'll create their own PAC. That's what's going on. It's about money. It's not about building a bottoms-up movement. Okay. The world is their stage. Denise Molarski, you nailed it. You nailed it. Okay. Someone said, let go of a party. Just use it when you vote, but do not let it define or limit you. Okay. There you go. All right. So thank you, everyone. I'll be back tonight. I hope everyone has a good weekend if you're not going to be there, but we're going to talk about how we get to clean elections and how any one of you can get clean elections, one person, one vote. That's the heart of the real issue. And that's going to take a systems approach. Anyway, I hope this was valuable. We're going to be doing, again, talks every day on politics and science, but we need your support. We have the infrastructure. We need to grow it. Hardware. We have our own data center. This is your movement for truth, freedom, and health. Join it, support it, be part of it. Get out of the matrix. Thank you, everyone. Get educated or be enslaved. I'll end with our wonderful video. I know some of you are probably hearing it in your brains right now, but let me just go over to the Chrome tab. By the way, people are saying, where do you get the MV25? You can go to vashiva.com/shop, and it's a revolutionary product that's out there, vashiva.com/shop. Those of you who just want to go and join and help the movement, you can contribute, you can give us ideas. But if you go to vashiva.com/join, I do not like to take anything from people without giving you something back. So when you contribute to our movement, which is a platform you can contribute, if you contribute $100 or more, you get access to the entire Warrior program. 25 or more, you get to the book, System and Revolution, and the tool, Your Body, Your System. Or if you don't want to contribute anything, just become a member. It's up to you, okay? But my goal is to have 50,000 Truth, Freedom, and Health Warriors. And I'll end with our great video here. Thank you.
We have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite working people. There's only one movement that can do that, and that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution, and that's why I put this together. My goal is to train a army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training, because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, right? Talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up, working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers. Completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with is a part of this movement. We're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, we don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people. They have to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You've got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is a not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow, some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. And that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done. And it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum. People can go to vashiva.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people 2 years of MIT control systems. I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it. Anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. The Senate campaign's expanded to the movement for truth, freedom, and health, and they can find it on V as in Victor, A, Shiva, vashiva.com, so people can sign in. They can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a truth, freedom, health leader, I offer a full scholarship there, but we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to VA Shiva, Victory America Shiva, vashiva.com.
All right, everyone. Hope you have a good evening. I look forward to seeing you later tonight around 9:30. We're going to be talking about how we get to clean elections and the movement we're launching where everyone can participate. It's very exciting. We're going to give you a preview of it. And this weekend, we're going to do many videos, interviews with people, with our Truth Freedom warriors on what they're doing on the ground to take ownership into their own hands. So you're going to get empowered to realize, forget politicians, forget lawyers, forget these political parties, forget left, forget right, what you can do. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Hope you have a good dinner. I'm going to go grab some right now. Thank you.